He rose as the light after darkness. Fereydun, the king who broke the back of Zahak. He ruled not with sword, but with justice. And from his throne of gold, he cast the shadow of tyranny far from the land. But peace is a fragile crown, and even kings cannot escape the weight of their own blood. This is not a tale of kings. It is the silence after betrayal, the birth of vengeance, and the blood that wrote the name of Iran. The reign of Fereydun. When Fereydun overthrew Zahak and claimed the throne, he crowned himself in the month of Manuchehr, marking the dawn of a new age. To celebrate, he declared the great festival of Manuchehr, summoning his people to rejoice in the light of justice restored. For 500 years, his reign endured, an era of peace, where tyranny was banished and suffering had no place. His mother, Franak, upon hearing of his victory, washed herself in pure water and lifted her hands in prayer, offering thanks to the Almighty. In gratitude, she shared her treasures with the poor and sent the finest of her wealth to her son. When Fereydun received these gifts, he was moved by her kindness, and before the gathered lords praised the heavens for the peace and prosperity granted to his people. Then, with a king's resolve, he journeyed through his vast dominion, cleansing the world of cruelty and ensuring that justice ruled the land. At last, he reached Manuchehr, where he set his throne, and made it the heart of his empire. 50 years passed, and to Fereydun were born 3 sons, descended from the noble line of Jamshid. 2 were sons of Shahnameh, and the youngest was born to Arnavaz. They grew strong in their father's shadow, their strength likened to lions and war elephants. Yet Fereydun had not yet given them names, waiting for their deeds to prove their worth. As his sons came of age, Fereydun sought wives worthy of their noble blood. He summoned Jandal, his trusted advisor, and sent him on a quest to find 3 maidens of noble birth, pure heart, and surpassing beauty. Jandal journeyed far and wide until he reached the kingdom of Yemen, where he heard of King Sav, who had 3 daughters, each graceful, wise, and untouched by the world beyond their father's palace. Jandal approached Sav, bearing Fereydun's royal message, speaking with the eloquence of the court. The king, though outwardly welcoming, felt troubled within his heart. The thought of parting with his beloved daughters weighed heavily upon him. Seeking a way to delay or perhaps even escape this fate, he set forth a condition. If your mighty king desires my daughters, let him first send his sons to me, that I may look upon them with my own eyes and test their worth. Jandal carried these words back to Fereydun, who, unmoved by the king's trickery, called upon his sons. He told them of the journey ahead, of the daughters of Sav, and of the test that awaited them. Then, with wisdom, earned through years of rule, he warned them. King Sav will seek to test your judgment. He will bring his daughters before you, but he will not seat them in the order of their birth. The eldest shall sit beside the youngest among you, and the youngest beside the eldest. You must not let your eyes deceive you. Know the truth, and you shall not falter. Thus prepared and resolute, the 3 princes set forth for Yemen. King Sav welcomed them with honor, offering them a grand feast in his palace. As their father had foretold, When the three daughters entered, they were not seated in the correct birth order. With a smile that concealed his intent, Sarv turned to them and said, "If you are truly sons of Fereydun, tell me, who among these maidens is the eldest? Who is the youngest? Who stands between?" But the princes, mindful of their father's words, were not fooled. They answered without hesitation, naming the daughters in their true birth order. Sarv, though impressed by their wisdom, was still reluctant to part with his daughters. That night, he turned to dark sorcery. He conjured a storm, a terrible wind that roared through the palace, bringing ice and snow, hoping that the cold would break the will of the Persian princes. But Fereydun had prepared them well. Through the long night they stood unshaken, enduring the storm with the strength of their noble blood. At last, Sarv had no choice but to surrender to fate. With grand ceremony, he gave his daughters in marriage to the Persian princes, blessing them with treasures and gifts fit for kings. As they journeyed home, Fereydun sought to test them once more. By the power of his magic, he took the form of a monstrous dragon and blocked their path, its terrible roar shaking the mountains. The eldest son, seeing the beast, thought, "Caution is wisdom. The wise do not throw themselves into needless peril." And so he turned away. The second son, though braver, hesitated. He raised his voice in defiance, but after a moment's thought, he too stepped back, believing that retreat was the wiser course. But the youngest son, his heart ablaze with courage, did not pause. Without fear, he drew his sword and charged forward, ready to strike. At that moment, Fereydun cast aside the illusion, revealing himself. His face shone with pride. When they returned home, he at last gave them names. The eldest, who had chosen safety, was called Salam. The second, who had hesitated yet still shown bravery, was named Tur. The youngest, who had charged forth without fear, was named Iraj. Fereydun divided his vast kingdom among them. Salam was given the west, Tur was given the east, Iraj was given Iran, the jewel of the empire. But jealousy festered in the hearts of Salam and Tur. They saw Iran as the greatest land, and bitterness took root. They conspired, sending word to their father, demanding a new division of the world. But Fereydun refused, rebuking their greed. Yet Iraj, noble and kind, wished for peace. He set forth alone and unarmed, seeking only to mend the rift between brothers. He spoke with wisdom, offering even to step aside. But Tur's fury could not be tamed. With blazing hatred, he struck Iraj down, severing his head, and sent it to their father in a coffin. From Iraj's bloodline, a child was born, Manuchehr, raised in wisdom and strength, destined to avenge his forefather. When he came of age, he led an army of warriors and rode forth to claim justice. In battle, he struck Tur down with his spear, and Salam fell soon after. Thus, Iraj's blood was avenged, and his descendants reclaimed the throne of Iran. Fereydun, now old and weary, rejoiced in Manuchehr's triumph, yet sorrow still lingered, for he had lost all his sons to fate and folly. Soon, the great king passed away, leaving behind a legacy that would echo through the ages. Would you, like Iraj, still choose peace over war, even if it meant walking into betrayal? When kings fall, legends rise. From the ashes of guilt, a cry pierced the mountains. The Simurgh descended, not as hunter, but as mother. He grew in the nest of winds, forged by fate, named by stars. And now, the white-haired prince returns. But will the world accept what the heavens have chosen? Can destiny be denied again? Telvora, where myth takes flight,